plaintiff, Frances Irons, says her grandson, who was also the defendant's son, was murdered, and she's heartbroken by the loss. Frances claims prior to his death, she did everything she could to help him because the defendant wasn't in his life, and she's suing his mother today for half of the funeral costs and emotional distress. Defendant Nicole McGee is appalled that Frances is suing her 4 months and 13 days after her son's death. Nicole claims her son's last words after he was shot were, "Tell my mom I love her," and he has always been in her life. Nicole is countersuing for harassment and emotional distress.
Start with you, ma'am.
Judge Mathis, my grandson, Andre McGee, was murdered. Andre, from the time he was born, he was in my life. I loved Andre like a son. I'm still brokenhearted from his death. He stayed with me some of the time. He was in school. I made sure that he went to school and got his diploma. I made sure that he had food to eat. I made sure that he had clothes. He was basically with his great-grandmother. His mother wasn't in his life that often. Okay. His mother put him out quite a bit. But I loved Andre dearly. I loved him so much, and I did everything, I mean everything, in my power to help Andre along his life.
What happened?
Keep him. He was murdered. He was shot down in Indianapolis at a strip club. I don't know the whole story, but I know the day of his death. They had it on the internet. And all I remember is seeing him laying in the street dead and just laying there.
Ma'am, you want to give me some background?
Yeah. How dare Frances Irons come sue me for whatever amount of money? My son's been dead 4 months, 13 days. I got the call at 2:51 a.m. to see my baby, my first son and my only son, on that ground, and he sat there for 5 hours. And they said the only words my son said was, "Tell my mama I love her." That was it. And I made it too late, and I don't want to be here. But he's only been gone 4 months. The trial started in January. I got to do this all over. I just did the funeral. My son never lived with this lady. I had my son January 24th, 1989, at 17 years old. I was a child myself. I didn't know his daddy even had a mother because she's out of rehab now, I guess, recovering. I've always respected her. But the thing I wouldn't let her do is, like my mother said, take your first and your only son. She didn't raise her son. Her son killed someone in a teenager. She didn't raise her son. Her son lived with his father until he got 18, 19 and left and went into the world. I went to college. When I graduated from high school, her son didn't. He said he wanted to be a drug dealer, a professional one. And that was his dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And the records that I have here, that's all he's been doing all his life in jail. So my son died June 17th. I called his father into jail in Indianapolis prison. For the 9th time, he was in jail, incarcerated. Miraculously, God let him come out to bury his son, his first child.
What did you find out had occurred?
It was an altercation at the place he was at. And it wasn't his altercation, Judge. My son wasn't a felon.
Had never been to prison?
Never been to prison.
My son was in and out of prison, Your Honor. He was. I didn't get to that, but I was going to, and I am also a recovering addict. I've been recovering for 17 years. Her son did live with me.
So we have 2 women raising this boy. Now we got these black women fighting each other. And where's the father? In and out of prison 9 times.
I don't think it was that many times, sir.
Well, in and out. Most
in
of
and
them,
out of
you
prison,
said
most
that.
of his life.
Okay. Well, that's who we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about your son who was in and out of prison, so much so he was unavailable to teach his son real manhood. Mama can do the best she can. These women can't teach these boys how to be men. They need their fathers. And there's a bigger purpose here. We got millions of people watching today. And I want them to observe this. And I want these men in prison, I have a lot of them watch me from prison. I want them to see the effects of not being there for their sons. I promise you, brothers, that we'd have less of these boys killing each other. I get a lot of complaints, and then why you come down on the brothers? Why you always gotta point out race? Why you so and so? I'm speaking what's true. Get mad at me if you want to. I don't care about you getting mad with me. And I want you to look at the bigger picture. I want you to put it in context. And I want you to do as your son and your grandson will want you to do. To use his death as something that would help people. And that's what I'm focusing on. Why are you suing her for half of the funeral cost?
Okay, Your Honor, when Andre was killed, Nicole called me and asked me, did I have insurance on Andre? I said, of course I have insurance on Andre. And I asked her how much was the funeral going to cost. She said about $6,000. I told her that I would pay half. And
how much was the insurance for?
Was $20,000.
Okay. You were to get $20,000 in the event of his death?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead. So you told her you would pay half of the $6,000.
$6,000. Okay, after I said $6,000, the funeral started to be more. So I went and took another $1,000, which that's the $4,000. I'm asking you for $2,000 of the half that I paid because I didn't have no involvement in the funeral. I was excluded out of the funeral. I was almost excluded out of the obituary because my name is at the end.
So you want your money back, half of your money back.
Half of the $4,000.
Because of the way they treated you?
I agreed, when she called me, I told her that I would pay half of the funeral. At that time, I didn't know that she wasn't paying anything because I didn't know that my sister would end up paying.
Now see, let me stop you. You are upset because you don't like the way things went with the funeral. They put your name down last. So this is the way you're punishing her. That's what I'm interpreting.
And I'm saying it because they had online, my niece had her on donations being put in for the funeral costs online.
Now, do you think a person whose son has died or a close relative would let the public know that she has to solicit donations to bury her loved one if it wasn't absolutely necessary? That's a heck of a thing to do. And so it troubles me that you think she did something wrong. People do that when they absolutely cannot afford it. Not when they're trying to slick somebody out some money. So let me hear about the emotional distress she caused you.
Andre was a big part of my life. He was a big part of my life. I talked to Andre every day, and I sent him back and forth to school. I did everything for Andre that I possibly could.
How did she cause you emotional distress?
Because she's evil. Okay. She did so much evilness to me during the funeral. She didn't allow, my son and my granddaughter wasn't allowed to ride in the family car. I didn't go to the funeral because she acted so evil and so negative toward me, and I did a lot.
What did she do to stop you from going to your grandson's funeral?
What did I do?
I didn't go to his funeral because she's acting now.
No, I need you to tell me. I need you to tell me.
Go to his funeral because she was acting so evil and nasty.
Tell me specifically what she did.
As far as my grandson, my son,
Ma'am, you're suing for emotional distress.
Not being
you have
able
to be
to-
very specific.
Okay.
What did she do to you to cause you not to go to the funeral specifically?
You can't say.
I don't know. It was just her actions, the way she treated me.
You can't give me any specific action.
I can't because it goes back.
All right. Well, I can't grant you a judgment based on your general feelings.
Okay.
Let me get to you. What is it you want me to know? I'm clear on the funeral costs, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm not granting her anything on the funeral costs. She said right here today she would pay half, and she did. So there's nothing to understand differently. She's then said that she believed she was entitled to get half of what she paid back because she didn't like the fact that you were getting the money from others.
Right.
And so that's really disheartening
and she had the
to
insurance
me
policy,
because and she had an insurance policy for $20,000.
And it was
ma'am, what did you do with the
because-
other $16,000?
What am I doing with it? I paid
Yes, ma'am.
bills.
Your bills?
Yeah, my
Okay.
bills. I brought up my bills. I paid.
Okay. And you are suing his mother, who had to get on the internet.
She didn't.
And I'm just going to use the term and embarrass herself.
Embarrassed.
I don't mean to hurt you, ma'am,
It hurts.
but I want her to understand. And you say what?
And she got one
You
son.
say it didn't.
Her.
You say it. I thought I heard you say it didn't embarrass her.
Not really.
Ma'am.
Yes, you did.
Now I'm starting to
You
think
see?
differently of you as a person.
Oh, no.
And let me leave you alone, ma'am.
Sir?
Your counterclaim is $5,000 for harassment and emotional distress. How
I have
does
an
she owe
audio.
you? Pardon me?
I have an audio that she said she hates my guts. And Jaquie McNeil, it was a conversation between her and Jaquie McNeil, my son's previous girlfriend before he died. And she said, God don't like ugly Frances. And Frances Irons said, well, I'm ugly as hell because I hate her. It's all on audio.
Who said that?
Frances Irons
Let
said.
me hear that, ma'am.
I don't like her, though.
God don't like us.
I don't like her. And I never will. She made me miss my grandson's funeral because she was down here acting so stupid. She told my son he should be in the grave next to Andre. So, I don't like her.
God don't like ugly.
I'm ugly as hell. Okay?
Why is you saying that? You don't mean it. You just upset.
I am ugly as hell as far as Nicole because I cannot stand her. I despise her guts. Okay? I'm the one missed the funeral. I'm the one that was treated badly by her.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough, ma'am.
Now-
What I heard you say, ma'am, is that you despise her guts.
Sir,
It's some of the most terrible things. Yes.
since my son passed, I haven't been to work in 4 months. I'm under the doctor's care. She don't understand what I'm going through. If you see your child, your first baby, lay on that ground with his brains everywhere, and all she cares about $4,000, I don't get it. I named her in the obituary on the newspaper. She's not last. She's in the program for the church. She's not last.
Ma'am, you told me you were last.
See, this is the obituary from the paper. She's not last. She's came to the wake. She signed a book, Your Honor. She didn't miss the homegoing of my son. Her name is on the first page. She signed this book. This is the original book. How could you?
You're not last, ma'am.
You're not last.
And she
signed
the
a book right here. Frances Irons, the first page after me and his father.
Why are you doing
I
this?
gotta
went
go
to
through
see-
all of this.
Why are you doing
I went
this?
to
I gotta
visit
go through this
him,
again in
and that's when-
Why are you
January
doing this, man?
and face this man who killed my son.
Why
I'm
did you
just
do
so
this?
stressed. How could you do that? How?
Your Honor, I
You
didn't.
told lies on
I
her
did.
today.
No.
I just looked at lies.
I looked-
You,
I signed
you
the
began
book.
your testimony with lies.
No.
Ma'am, I'm very disappointed that you would do this. What you're doing is not right. What you did today is not right. I'm going to grant you your $5,000 for the emotional distress she has certainly caused you, and then I'll have my staff to offer more help. Your claim is dismissed, ma'am. Yours is granted. Have a good day.
Thank you.